Would Pogacar win the Tour de France on a mid-range bike? Well, unfortunately, he's a bit busy currently, so you got me to find out instead. This is a Van Rysel RCR. It has carbon zip wheels, it has an electronic SRAM group set, a power meter, and a frame that has been sculpted by the wind. And it's going up against this. It's a Canyon Ultimate CFR. It too has carbon zip wheels, a SRAM electronic group set, a power meter, and has been created using the exhaustive process of wind tunnel testing. Now, our eagle-eyed viewers will have realised that there is going to be quite a difference in price between these two bikes. And, well, you'd be right. The Van Rysel in this exact spec will set you back £4,500. And the Canyon, which is the same spec as Team Movistar and Alpecin de Koenig are using this year's Tour de France, has a price tag of £9,749. What that means is that the Ultimate CFR is over twice the price of the Van Rysel. But is it twice the bike? Well, we're going to find out. The other day I drew this rather rudimentary graph and said that spending more than about this amount is about as much use as a handbrake on a canoe. I also said that Pogacar could win the 2024 Tour de France on a 4-gram bike. Something that might age very badly, but for now I stand by it. But in all seriousness, surely there is a measurable, significant difference between a super bike like this one and a mid-range bike like this one. Otherwise, why would anyone ever buy the range-topping models? To find out, we're going to compare a few things. Their speed on a flat road at a set wattage, how fast they can climb, and then we're going to blindfold ourselves. No, we're not actually going to blindfold ourselves, but we are going to see if they feel any different to ride. And before we get started, this is no dig at Canyon whatsoever for charging this much for a bike. Van Rysel also make a bike that costs twice as much as the one we have here. And actually, compared to most of the bikes you'll see at this year's Tour de France, this one's surprisingly good value. Most of the others cost over £12,000. We'll start off with a climbing test because usually as you spend more, the most noticeable difference is weight saving. For example, the higher end SRAM Red AXS group set on our super bike is lighter than the third tier Rival AXS group set on the mid-range bike. The wheels are also lighter and indeed the frame is too. Both of the bikes that we've got here today are a size medium. So let's go and see what they weigh. Well, the Ultimate CFR first, and I can tell you that it weighs just 6.8 kilos. That is very much tickling the UCI weight limit, isn't it? And well, the RCR is not doing any tickling. It's 7.91 kilos. It doesn't feel ridiculously heavy, but it's no featherweight either. So far then, that extra £5,249 has saved us around 1 kilogram. But how much difference does that make on a climb? To find out, we've shunned Le Tour and come to Le Coq instead. A road, it turns out, that is as steep as the Galibier. At the time of filming, it is the Galibier that has produced the biggest time gaps at this year's Tour de France. And whilst our col here is around 20 times shorter than the Galibier, hopefully it will give us a representation of how much faster, if any, our superbike is. So then, we better go and find out. Okay, so test complete and the results are perhaps closer than expected. The first effort I did was on the Van Rysel, and over our 1.8 kilometre climb, I clocked a time of 4:46. Not exactly peak Pogacar and rather more asthmatic amateur. Despite probably being a little fatigued, I then hopped on the Canyon and completed the climb 4 seconds quicker, in a time of 4:42. Obviously, to try and balance out the effects of fatigue, I then did the test again. This time with the Canyon first. On this run I clocked a time of 4:45. Slower than my first effort, but 5 seconds faster than I'd then do on the mid-range bike. Obviously our testing isn't entirely scientific, but I have since plugged the numbers into Bike Calculator and it does seem feasible that I'd be a few seconds quicker on a bike that is a kilogram lighter. Is it worth buying a high-end bike then? Well, if you want to go up a 1.8 kilometre climb 5 seconds quicker, then yes. Most people that are actually looking to spend their own money on either one of these two bikes probably isn't also the type of person who is racing up the Galibier on the daily. It's potentially more important then to find out which one is faster on the flat. To do that, we've found a traffic-free road. I've recovered from my earlier efforts riding up that hill, and we've cleaned the dribble off the two bikes. The test is simple. I'm going to ride our flat 10-kilometer route holding a constant 250 watts. I'm then going to repeat the test on both bikes, and the fastest time wins. I'm going to channel my inner Chris Froome watching my power meter. I'm not going to take my eyes off of that Garmin. Alright, results time. Our flat course was a grand total of 10 kilometers long with an elevation gain of just 34 meters. When we say flat, we really do mean flat. And to be honest, it's really hard to say that we found anything conclusive. On the first run, I took the canyon first this time, I clocked a time of 17 minutes and 50 seconds. The first effort on the RCR was actually faster, with a time of 17 minutes and 40 seconds. However, I then did the test again and was slower on both bikes, clocking times of 18:01 and 18:06 respectively, so the positions switched. What can we glean from this then? Well, only that the difference in speed between the two bikes is way less than the margin of error of our test. One useful thing that the Canyon did have though is the adjustable width bars. That meant that we could match it to the Van Rysel. To be honest, I wasn't expecting to see any huge differences between the two on this flat test, other than perhaps a fancy integrated cockpit. Mid-range bikes very often share exactly the same frame shapes and geometry as their more expensive counterparts. And that lower tier group set also isn't going to slow you down in the real world. Not on the flat anyway. I think we could have happily chosen all manner of manufacturers and not found any meaningful difference, or at least not as big as the one from making your body more aero or switching to a set of deeper wheels. So would Pog still be in yellow if he was on a mid-range bike? Well, over the Glibier, a 1 kilo heavier bike would have meant that Pog crossed the summit about 20 seconds slower, i.e. at almost an identical time to Remco Evenepoel. And I think we know what that means. He would have dropped them on the descent and still won the stage. Would his time gap have been as big as it was on his Colnago V4 RS? Probably not. Let us know how much you think is sensible to spend on a performance road bike down in the comment section below, as well as whether our results were what you expected. As always, if you enjoyed this content, even just a little bit, then please help us out by giving the video a like, subscribe to the channel for lots more bike comparisons and all the latest releases, and we'll see you next time.